Drive, brought to you by Golf Pride.
And welcome into this weekend edition of Morning Drive. I'm Gary Williams, always pleased to be with my partners, Matt Adams and Jaime Diaz. And guys, while Masters Week will not begin on Monday, we have got wall-to-wall coverage to help fill the void starting Monday morning and also prime time as well every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us in celebrating the Masters, where you can see a collection of golf film shorts in addition to winning press conferences that will complement Final Round Masters telecasts that are going to be airing on ESPN and CBS throughout the week. You can also see the final round of the Augusta National Women's Amateur, the Drive, Chip, and Putt National Finals, Tuesday through Saturday, and special editions of Fairty featuring different Masters champions. So with all that, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to despite not having the actual 2020 Masters going on this week. We hope we have it at some point before the end of the year. What are you looking forward to the most of all the things that you might be able to watch again?
Well, I always love the replays of the 1975 Masters. I think that may be the greatest tournament ever. 1986, of course, is arguably the best, but honestly, I don't think you ever saw the three best players in the game all at the top of their games coming down the stretch together in one major championship like that. You had Johnny Miller, who had just won 11 times in the last 15 months, Tom Weiskopf, who everybody always said had the most game of anybody, and of course, Jack Nicklaus. And it was just an incredible finish. It was really chronicled beautifully in a book called The Magnificent Masters by our head of research, Gil Capps. I'd recommend that. But the replay is going to be amazing. There were so many signature moments. Jack hitting that one iron on 15 from 242 yards. He talks about that as a shot he'll never forget. You had just the signature moment on 16 where, Weiskopf had just birdied 15. He had a one-stroke lead. Jack's got a 40-footer uphill. He knocks it in. He was playing with Tom Watson. He had to wait forever. Tom made a 7 on that hole. So the drama was just so thick. And then Tom Weiskopf 3 putts, and Jack's leading all of a sudden. And they all go to 18 with Jack leading by 1. Miller and Weiskopf hit great shots in there. Weiskopf had hit a drive about 305 yards uphill. It was just out of this world, the greatest drive of his life, he said. But they all missed the putts. And it was Jack winning his 5th green jacket and reestablishing himself at the top of the game because those guys had been challenging him, Miller and Weiskopf. It was a separating moment. And then, of course, the aftermath was very difficult for Tom Weiskopf. He never quite got over it. Miller was never quite as good again. His streak kind of stopped. He won the 76 Open Championship, but again, he sort of burned out after that. And Jack was never quite as good, but he still looks back at that tournament, I think, as his favorite, the one he had the most fun in. Matt, what do you think?
I loved your pick for 1975, the Masters. That whole era was one that I like to call when giants roamed. And if you look at the Masters in particular through that stretch from 74, when Gary Player played it off the bridge on 13 and won that Masters, 75, I would say 77 when Nicklaus was battling against Tom Watson, 78, again, when Player had a 30 in the back 9 to shoot an 8 under par 64 and win that Masters. It's absolutely incredible. It's kind of like, Gary, like Celtics Lakers in the middle 80s when you have all the best battling at the top as the Masters continues to cause that year in and year out. For me, it was 1997 because not only did I think it was a watershed for golf, it was a cultural watershed. Remember, in the 1960s, Charlie Sifford had to ultimately take court action to be able to play on tour as an African-American. He won multiple times in the 60s, and he never played at Augusta National. Lee Elder was the first in 1975. 1975 was the year that Tiger Woods was born. So when he broke through and won in 1997, he won for so many, not just him. And because he had the it factor to go along with it, it justified him as the prodigy that he was labeled so early on. And it defined the game in ways that it had never been defined before. Gary, what about you?
Well, Matt, what you said, all of that is profound. I mean, he broke sound barriers that week all over the place. He broke or equaled 26 different Masters records that week in 1997. To me, I love what was part of that week was his pairing starting on Thursday with Nick Faldo. There was some friction there. It appeared with the 96 champion. And of course, what Nick saw on that second night on Thursday, Tiger coming home in 30 after going out in 40. Then on Friday was Paul Azinger. He had won the PGA in that playoff in 93 at Inverness. He was one of the best players of that generation. And Jaime, you did a feature that Paul talked about watching Tiger and watching and listening to the strike of the ball against the face of the club and saying there was an integrity to the strike that was unusual to the game. And then Saturday, to me, it summed it all up because it was Colin Montgomery. And Monty, kind of stuck his chest out a little bit on Friday night saying, yeah, I look forward to going out there with this young man. Well, what he saw was the future and he wasn't in it. He walked up 18 looking whipped, not just that day, but knowing what was in front of him in the years going forward. Tiger shooting that 65, punctuated by that iron shot that he nestled to about 18 inches to close out his round. And then Sunday was Constantino Rocca, who was a good player of that generation. I love that part of that week. For me, to be able to see 86 and 2019 in full, with the network re-airing both broadcasts of Jack's win and Tiger's fifth green jacket last year, you can talk about which one appeared to be more improbable to you or improbable to you. To me, it was also who was on those leaderboards. We're talking about the best of that generation in 1986. 6 of the top 7 on that final leaderboard are now members of the World Golf Hall of Fame. Seve was 29 years of age at that time. Tom Kite was the great practitioner. Watson was right there in the top 7 as well. And then last year, of course, you had Dustin Johnson, you had Brooks Koepka, you had Jason Day, who was a former world number 1, not to mention the likes of Webb Simpson, who was already a major champion. So there was a lot of things that were similar, but things that were different. Koepka and DJ, if they played in 86, would have looked very unusual to the rest of that field. Size, athleticism, fitness had been taken to a very different place so many years later. All of it we're looking forward to, Matt and Jaime. And of course, you can follow us on all of our different social media handles at Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Watch all of it starting Monday morning on Morning Drive as we celebrate the Masters. So for my partners, be safe, stay well. We'll see you tomorrow.